Hi, my name is Wynn, and I'm going to be redoing my series on stimming.
Heads up, this video was cross-posted from TikTok.
Because I think it's time for an update. So part 1. What the hell is stimming? Stimming is short for self-stimulatory behavior. Stimming is classified as any repetitive movement or action used for self-regulating. For people like me, specifically autistic people, I'm more educated about autism than I am ADHD, so I'm probably going to focus on the autistic side of things just for the sake of this video because I'm still expanding my knowledge on ADHD. But for autistic people and people with sensory disorders, because I also have sensory processing disorder, self-regulation can be extremely difficult. Emotions can be so big and so powerful that our brains don't really know what to do with them as autistic people. So like if I'm super frustrated, one of the things I do is like a stim that's like popping myself in the head, and like that's dangerous. Yeah. So stimming can be good, it can be bad, but it's seen a lot in neurodivergent people. So in the series I'm going to cover different kinds of stims, harmful stims, how to redirect those harmful stims and make them beneficial, and the best way to know how you should stim if you are neurodivergent and that's something you need to do. We're going to be talking about identifying what kind of sensory input you need or lack thereof. Why would a person stim? What causes it? Why is it a thing? Why do we do it? Well, there's several reasons. Maybe we just want to. Like, for example, I just got this for my birthday. Do I need it right now? No. But am I stimming with it right now? Yes. Why? Because I want to. That easy sometimes. Or it could be trying to gain some kind of sensory input. Or regulating your sensory input. Maybe the lights are too loud and you're hearing them too loudly and you're starting to get overstimulated, so you stim as a way to regulate that, because if you don't, you're going to go into full-blown meltdown mode. Yeah, that's the thing I've done. Maybe you're anxious. Maybe you've got some kind of stress or anxiety, even over something small. Like maybe you ate an apple wrong and now you're anxious about it. Like, that's okay. Now you're stimming, you're regulating that because you don't want to end up in a meltdown, or a shutdown, or a burnout. Maybe you need to reduce your sensory input, maybe you need to increase it. It's all about regulating your emotions, your senses, and your body. Rule number 1, it's okay to stim. Rule number 2, never stop someone from stimming unless they are in danger. For example, when I was younger, I had a stim where I would rock violently, and I don't mean like rocking, I still do that. I mean I would violently rock on the school buses because I was so anxious about being on the school bus that my legs would be black and blue and bruised and cut open and bloody, and that had to be intervened with because my body was being harmed by my stim. Now, that being said, there's a right and wrong way to do that, and I will cover that in a different part when we talk more about harmful stims. But the main rule is stimming is okay, it's valid, you do what you gotta do, and never stop someone from stimming unless they or someone else is in danger. Obvious danger. So for this one, we're going to talk about types of stims. So we're going to start with visual. I have a little thing I've written out here that I'm going to kind of go by, so you may see me looking down. This is just, I have goldfish memory, so I'm just double checking that I'm saying what I've wrote down. So the first type we're going to start with is visual. But wait, isn't visual a sense? Yes. As I mentioned, it's about self-regulation and self-stimulatory behavior, so it really is about your senses. Stimming is related to all of the senses you have. The types of stimming are the same as types of senses because it involves your senses. The first one we're going to talk about is visual. This includes anything you can see, all of your vision, all of your sight, or lack thereof. So an example is something I used to do for visual stimming as a child was push up against my eyes as hard as I could to like make these little lights appear or these little colors appear. Some other ways are shiny things like this sequin bag I have that goes back and forth. Those colors are very stimming. Satisfying videos like watching kinetic sand videos or putty videos, or colorful things like those glow painting apps, kaleidoscopes, glow sticks, glitter jars, glitter, anything that just stimulates your visual sense. It can be even blocking out anything visual. Maybe you've seen too much today, so you put on a blindfold or like a sleeping mask and just block everything out or shut your eyes. Lack of stimulating a sense is still stimming that sense. So blocking it out is still stimming that sense. If you find yourself getting exhausted visually a lot, something you can do is wear sunglasses indoors if you can handle them being on your ears, tinted glasses. I always have a face mask in my purse, like a eye mask. And before I move on to another type, I just want to say that sometimes a lot of it overlaps. So sometimes stimming one sense can also stim a second sense. So like if you're wearing sunglasses, that may help you block out your visual, but it may bother your tactile because you have something sitting on your ear that you're not used to being there. And like with this thing that I showed you, me touching this is also tactile, which I will get more into in the next part. So we're going to talk about auditory now, which relates to your sense of sound. Sound can be a lot of different things. So auditory stimming is very, very wide as a range. This can include things like echolalia or echolalia, which a lot of us have, like external echolalia. That means like repeating something that sounds good to you, like it just tickles your brain a little bit. Like one thing I've had as echolalia recently, showing which side of TikTok I'm on, is that emotional damage meme. I've been going around doing that, unfortunately. But that's just one example. It may be like, maybe you like SpongeBob and you go around singing the SpongeBob theme 20 times a day. Like, it can just be any kind of something that just sounds good to you. It makes your brain have the warm fuzzies. Maybe in school you like to click pins a lot because you like the clicking sound. Ambient noises, like a noisemaker, like a wave noisemaker, or like listening to the same song over and over and over, even though you have over 800 songs in your playlist. Singing, even though you think you can't sing, but you like to sing anyway. There are some stim toys as well that can help you stimulate the sense. For example, my clicky slug. This is called a Clicks fidget. I actually tend to like to block noises out more than I like to stim auditorially. So I just pretty much always have earplugs. I know a lot of other autistic content creators that I see on TikTok like to use the noise canceling headphones, and that's amazing. For me, I don't like the way it feels to have something on my head, and I don't like the way it feels to have something covering my ear. It makes me feel claustrophobic, so I can't use the headphones. But I do like earplugs. They go in my ear, they block out most ambient noises, like the sound of lights being loud, or the sound of like my air conditioner, or if I'm in a loud room with a lot of people, it blocks out most of the overlapping ambient noise while still letting me have a conversation with people and still hear my toddler if she's fussing or needs to talk to me or crying. Like, I can still talk to people, but it's blocking out that really harmful background noise. So I like earplugs to help stim. This time we're going to be talking about tactile. This involves your sense of feel or touch. This is things that can bother this sense is stuff like scratchy tags in clothes or certain fabrics or the way things feel. For example, I cannot handle the way towels feel. Like the material that socks and towels and washcloths are made out of. That just, it makes my teeth hurt. It is very painful for me to touch a towel. So in my house, I have to have special towels made out of a different fabric in order for me to, bathe and do dishes and stuff like that. Ways to stim with tactile. Maybe as a kid you like to pick up really smooth rocks and rub them. Having really soft, fluffy stuffed animals. Wrapping up in a nice, warm, fluffy blanket that just feels so right. Things like putties, stones, crystals, slime, Play-Doh, Orbeez. Oh my gosh, I love Orbeez so much. I don't have any right now, but I love them. It can be different textures. Maybe you like rougher textures, maybe you like smoother or softer. Everyone is different, and that's okay. It's just about stimming that sense of touch that you need, or blocking it out, as we've talked about. Here's an example of one of my stim toys. This is a fidget cube. This is mostly for tactile stimming. There is some auditory elements to it, and if you like the colors blue and black, maybe even visual. But this is mainly tactile. These little gears give tactile feedback. This little thing gives tactile feedback. This is clicky, so this one's auditory and tactile. Up here, this is tactile. So fidget cubes are actually really good for tactile stimming. And this is just one example. Putty is another one of my favorites. I really, really like putty. And it can double as visual if you really like the colors, which I do. I really highly suggest Crazy Errands. Highly suggest. There's no weird smell or residues. It's really great, actually. This really strange head massager. Oh, I've missed doing that. Fluffy socks. Maybe you like the way water feels on your back when you take a shower. Tactile. Blocking out tactile sensory input can be really, really hard, though. My biggest suggestion is just change the things that bother you. I know that sucks, but it's all I've got. Now we're going to talk about taste and oral. The reason I say and oral is because it's more than just the way things taste in your mouth. It can be the way they feel in your mouth, which it can be kind of tactile related, but it has to do with the mouth, which makes it oral. Maybe you bite your cheek a lot. Maybe you rub your tongue along your cheek or the roof of your mouth. Maybe you bite at the skin on your lips like I do, which you probably shouldn't be doing. Biting, licking, sucking on things, like having to have a lollipop all the time, or a binky, hard candies, things that can bother you, like maybe you can't eat a certain food because of the texture of it. That's because it's bothering your oral and your taste, your oral sense. Things you can get to help stimulate that sense if you need it. If you've got good teeth, chewable jewelry. My teeth have gotten very bad over time, so I no longer can chew on these, but I like these mushroom ones from Stimtastic because they're kind of like binkies, but not binkies. So you can suck on it instead. Or chew on it. They make a bunch of different ones, thinner ones for light chewing, sturdier ones for heavy chewing. Here's one of mine that's thinner and better for light chewing if you have bad teeth like me. Like I said, hard candies are a good way. We have to be really careful not to overeat certain foods just because we like the taste of them. I really, really like things that are strawberry flavored. But if I eat too much of that, I have some gastrointestinal issues that's going to send me to the bathroom and I'm going to have a really bad time. So you've got to be careful about moderating yourself if you're going to use foods as a way of stimming. That being said, I'm not educated on dietary needs. I'm not educated or able to talk about diet or food regulation, so I'm not going to give you any other advice on that other than know yourself and watch yourself. This time it's going to be smell or olfactory. Things that can bother this sense is I can't go down the bleach or the cleaning supply aisle at Walmart because it overwhelms my sense of smell and can send me into a meltdown. Ways you might have stimulated this as a kid is having certain things that smell really good to you, like scented markers, and trying to smell them, which I do not suggest, unless it says that they're safe to do that with. Maybe a food you like the smell of, maybe a scented toy, like I think some putties are scented. Aromatherapy. Here's one of my favorite ways to stimulate my sense of smell. I have a friend, I don't know if she would want me to use her name or not, so I'm not going to, but if she does ask to be credited, I will, because she makes and sells these. I won this one in one of her giveaways a while back, several years ago, and I still have it, and it still works as well as the day I bought it. This is a scented bead necklace, so I can wear it if I want to. The little cap unscrews and comes off, and then you're left with being able to smell the inside of the jar. This one, the beads are peppermint scented. It smells like Christmas to me, which is a really calming, soothing, satisfying scent, so I can just sit and smell all I need to. And then I can put the lid back on and wear it around my neck if I need to when I'm done. Other safe ways to stimulate your sense of smell is scented candles if you're old enough to be able to be around, fire. Essential oils that are safe, aromatherapy, certain air fresheners maybe, if you can handle that. And like I said, there's tons of scented toys, scented putties, scented, just scented stimmy objects. Like scratch and sniff stickers, I guess, could be one. Just anything that smells good to you and gives your brain those warm fuzzies and that feedback that you need. And if you're super sensitive to smells, they make nose plugs just like they do earplugs. The best ones I've found are like for swimmers. So if you go to some kind of sports store or sports section of a store and just find like a swimmer's nose plug, that tends to do pretty good at keeping smells out if you need to. This time we're going to be talking about vestibular. Vestibular is a little bit harder to wrap your mind around. Growing up, we learned about the 5 senses: seeing, smell, taste, touch, and hearing, but there's actually several more, and I'm going to cover 2 more. The first one, as I mentioned, is vestibular. Your vestibular sense is your sense of movement and balance in the world, which it's kind of hard to identify that, and it may take you time to learn how to identify your vestibular sense and how it affects you and what kind of vestibular input or lack thereof that you need. I'm still working on it myself. However, the ways we stim in a vestibular sense are more widely well known. For example, rocking is vestibular stimming. Spinning in circles, which I'm not going to do because I will get very dizzy, is vestibular stimming. Swinging on swings at the park, which I loved so much as a child. I also really loved spinning as a child, but I can't do that much now. Anyway, that's all vestibular stimming. Now, I really struggle with vestibular input, and a lot of us who do struggle with vestibular input can come across as unbalanced or uncoordinated or clumsy or klutzy, which I definitely am. But it's all about how you learn to regulate that sense for yourself. Some ideas are crash pads that you can throw yourself onto, you see at gyms. Like a sensory swing. I know an autistic creator, Sound of the Forest, here on TikTok, who has a sensory swing, and that is an amazing idea, and I want one and need one in my life. Trampolines, jump ropes, balancing boards. Maybe get yourself one of those office chairs that we all love to spin on as a kid, and just sit in it and spin yourself in circles. That'd be fun. And of course, if all else fails, just let yourself rock and go with the flow. That's what I do. The last type of stimming I'm going to cover before we move into harmful stims, redirecting stims, and stim toys is, and I have to look at it to make sure I say it correctly, proprioceptive stimming, or your proprioceptive sense. That's a big word not a lot of us have heard about, so let's break it down. Proprioceptive stimming involves weight and your awareness of your body in relation to like the earth and space, which, let me try to explain a little bit better. It's like your orientation, like standing up, laying down, the way your body feels in relation to other things. This can also involve your interoceptive sense as well. So like if you're hungry, you're thirsty, stuff like that. But it's mainly your proprioceptive sense. Maybe it'll help if I talk about ways we can stim or stimulate the sense. Weighted blankets. That's stimming your proprioceptive sense. Weighted vests. Wrapping yourself up in something really tight. Like cocooning yourself in a blanket. Or caterpillaring yourself in like some kind of stretchy nylon. Tight clothing. Bean bags, heavy toys. Any kind of weighted toy. Like, I am a weakling. I don't do weighted. But I do have this little weighted seahorse who is a lot heavier than he looks. And that's a proprioceptive stim toy, as well as tactile and visual. Pressure garments like pressure socks, compression vest, just anything that can help you feel better where you are. Some autistic people who need the sense stimulated regularly may ask for really, really tight hugs from someone they trust and care about. Like maybe I'll ask my husband to cuddle me really, really tightly for a little bit. It's just about sensing your own body and your own sense of self. Externally, like outside of your brain, like your physical self, not your sense of ego or, what's that word? Your sense of id? Oh, my brain's doing the thing where it can't remember things. Anyway, we're going to talk about harmful stims and redirecting harmful stims and how to recognize if a stim is harmful or not. This might get triggering, I'm not sure. I haven't fully planned out what I'm going to say yet, so watch with caution. The first step is identifying if a stim is actually harmful or not. Does it cause physical harm? Like the story I told in one of the earlier parts of my series. I ended up with bruised and cut legs from one of my stims. It was indeed a harmful stim in that case because my body was hurt. Does it pose a health risk? Maybe a very small child is putting things in their mouth that they could swallow because they aren't able to control that yet. Does it violate someone else's personal space? I mentioned sometimes we can like really, really tight hugs to stim. Is someone doing that forcefully, or are they asking for someone to help them and waiting for permission and consent? Is it a stim that is causing you mental distress? Maybe you flap your hands and you don't want to flap your hands for whatever reason. Maybe it's societal, maybe it's hurting your wrists because you're chronically ill and have arthritis like I do. Maybe you just don't want to flap your hands and it's making you mentally distressed. That would be a harmful stim in that case. So once you've identified it's a harmful stim, what do we do next? Well, we've identified that the stim is harmful. What sense or need is that stim fulfilling? For example, let's say I have a stim where I'm hitting myself in the head very hard. Maybe I have a migraine. Maybe we need to rule out some kind of medical issue. That should always be your first step, is make sure that it's not something medical. Okay, so we've ruled out it's not medical. So it is purely a sense issue. What now? Let's use my example of me rocking on the bus and making my legs be injured. That sense was out of anxiousness of being on the bus. I was given a couple options. I could no longer ride the bus and my mom could take me to school, therefore eliminating the anxiety. Or we could find a way to replace the stim. If you're going to replace the stim, you want to make sure to replace it with something that meets the same need. An easier example would be, let's say I'm biting my nails to the point that they are bleeding. Well, how about we replace that with something else I can bite, like a chewable necklace, so I bite this instead of my nails. It's all about replacing it in a way that still meets the need that it was trying to fix in the first place. If you're still here, guess what? I'm proud of you. In this part, we're going to talk about stim toys. Stim toy is any tool you use to help you stim. It doesn't have to be something you buy from a store, but it can be. For example, these are really popular right now. They're called poppets, and they're amazing. These are an amazing tactile, visual, auditory stim toy. These are amazing. This is also a stim toy. This is a 1" by 1" square of chainmail I had fashioned for me at a Comic-Con like 4 years ago. No, 6 years ago. A stim toy is literally anything you use to help you stim. Whether it's a rock you picked up on a walk to the park with your friends, or it's a poppet you bought at a fidget store. This is my stim toy collection right now. Or part of it. I have a bunch of different stuff that I know works for me. I have some favorites that I use every day, and I have some that I haven't touched in a couple months, but I know that I need every now and then. Stim toys can also be weighted blankets. They can be sensory swings like we talked about. It can be puzzles. It can be something you watch on TV. It can be an app on your phone. It can be your phone. Anything you use that helps you stim is a stim toy, and it's valid. And if you aren't sure where to start or where to get stim toys, let me know in the comments and I can make another video with some of my favorite places that I get mine from. A lot of times fidget toys are also stim toys and vice versa, so don't be afraid to look into places that sell fidget toys too. And it's always a bonus if the place you end up buying a stim toy from is autistic owned. Like, my favorite one right now is Stimtastic for chewable necklaces, because they donate back to the autistic community and they're autistic run. So let me know if you need any help with stim toys. I'll be happy to help you. And don't worry, I have several videos coming up about my stim toy collection. That's just not part of this series. If you have any more questions about stimming, feel free to ask. My Q&A is open all the way at the top of my profile. The comments are completely open. Ask whatever you want. No question is stupid. I don't care if I've answered it before. No question is wrong. No question is rude. I am open and willing to answer any questions anyone has about stimming, or just being autistic in general, or neurodivergent in general. Like, literally ask anything you want. I will answer it. I hope you learned something. And if you didn't learn anything, cool, thank you for watching anyway. And if you did learn something, awesome. I hope it helps you in some way, or it helps someone else in some way. If there's any kind of resources or anything anyone needs, let me know and I will try to make that available to you. Yeah, that's all I got. I will see you soon in the videos I'm about to make where I go through everything in my stim toy collection. This is going to be fun. Bye.